we did things together. We bowled together, took you to the skating ring and all that. And I had you, to be into all these things so that, you won't be hanging on my skirt tail.
Right. Right. Okay? That's for sure.
Oh my gosh. But I also sung in.
Lionel Richie could have been my dad. Oh. No,
I wouldn't go that far. No,
Hey, this is Chaz, and welcome to my world from my living room. Today, we're going to talk to my mom. We're going to be talking about our creative similarities, how she managed to raise 2 sons as a single mother, and the nearly fatal moment that changed her life, and much more. So, sit back, relax, and welcome to my world from my living room.
Okay, so here we are. Oh my gosh, what an amazing opportunity this is. Not only did I just get finished celebrating a milestone, I've actually had this person right here next to me that actually came to town for it. And I could not be more grateful. Y'all, you've heard me talk about her a million times. If you really know me, you know that this person right here is my heart and soul and everything. Y'all, this is my mother, Miss Nancy Owens. So I'm so honored, so grateful to have you on my podcast. I never knew that I would actually be doing a podcast, but you're here. So yeah, thank you for being here.
Yes.
So I want to start this by saying I'm creative, thus me doing this, but I know for certain that I got it from you because growing up, you have been creating so many things throughout our lives and kept our rooms filled with all of your little things and projects that you've been kind of working on throughout the year. So tell me about all of your creative pursuits, because me as a parent nowadays, I have all these different things that I do. So, and I always harken back to the things that you did growing up and how it inspired me. So tell me about a little bit.
Well, for the most part, even as a child, I had my Barbie dolls, as most young girls had, and I dressed them to the nines. I made their little clothes, and they had on these gowns that I created, and I knew that's what I wanted to do. So growing up, I made a lot of my clothes, and then as I grew to be a young mother. I had to make ends meet as well. And so I had to come up with some creative juices. I got into making clothes, of course, and crocheting. And I got that from my mom. And from Granny. And so I did that. And then as time went on, I learned how to make jewelry. I learned to put nails on. I was just creative. My friends said, "Oh, you did that?" And I was like, "Yeah, I did that. Oh, girl, can you do me?" And I did them, and everything worked out fine. And then with the jewelry making, and I also inspired a lot of other people too. And they wanted to follow along, and I say, "Well, come on over, and I'll show you how to do this."
So you were like the first influencer.
Yeah. So I would create these things, and hey, one thing led to another. Now I make soaps and lotions and healing ointments and things of that nature for people, as helping them, not so much as to sell it,
right,
but actually to help in a way, because, I do have a little business called Heart of Nature. And so that's what I deal in, a lot of natural, remedies and essential oils and things of that nature. So that just goes on, and just started doing those things. I'm back to crocheting and looming. I love looming.
Now, you just recently got onto that because you, during the course of all your creative pursuits, back in 2020, there was a moment, right?
Yeah, there was.
And along with all those creative pursuits, you decided that you wanted to get into having a little farm, so to speak, right? So there was a moment where you were like, I want some chickens. And at first I was like, okay, oh, that's cute, Mom. That's really cute. But you really took that to task, and you really did it. So you got these chickens, right? So you were ordering them, and then you were like,
build their house first.
You had to build their house first. Now that's the part I want to talk about, because that actually helped open up more creative opportunities.
Yeah.
So talk about that moment.
Well, let me go a little bit back. I mean, even in my household, I built my own kitchen. I put my own cabinets up. I did a lot of stuff. I had many tool belts, literally.
Y'all see where I get it from.
And so I did that. And they say, oh, you had somebody to do it? I said, no, I did it. I told my husband, look, hold this cabinet, let me screw it in. And I put them up. Okay, right. So then I said, well, if I can do that, I can build. And so I bought these books home saying how to build a house. And my husband was like, oh my God, what's she going to do now?
Another project, right? Another project.
She said, oh Lord, she's going to try to build onto the house. But no, I learned all the techniques and stuff from off of some of the home channels, and I pursued building my own chicken coop for my babies that was going to be coming soon.
Right.
And I did very good all the way up until I got to the roof.
The roof.
January 1 in Virginia, it was a very nice, it was almost like a spring day. It was a beautiful day. So, I mean, it was a little cool, but not cold. Right. And so I had my jacket on and everything. And I go up the ladder to start putting the roof line on and doing what I had to do with that. And so that I could put my shingles on.
Right.
Well, coming down, mind you, January 1, 2020, I come down, get to about the third from the bottom of the ladder, and the ladder tilted. And I fell off. Broke my ankle, my right ankle, in 4 quadrants, right, left, front, and back. It was just dangling.
Oh.
So I'm in the hospital with all these patients coming in from in the emergency room, and they all had to have these masks on.
Right.
Because they were all coming in with the flu. Right. And I didn't think nothing of it. I said, well, everybody's getting the flu, whatever. Right. Only to find out later that it was that. That's what was going on.
The C word.
And so after that, I said, you know what? I'm whatsoever thy hands find to do it with the mic.
Right.
I have to keep these hands busy.
Right.
So I said, what can I do? And prior to that, I went to the doctor's office with my husband, and this guy was in there. He was looming. And I was like, whoa, what are you doing? That is beautiful.
Yet another project is looming right now.
What is it called? What is that called? He says, oh, this is looming. I said, is it easy? He said, yeah, look, you just flip it over to the down. He explained how to do it. So then when I broke my ankle, I said, you know what, honey? I think I want to get that looming thing. So
Pops was like,
I commenced to get the looming thing. And I started creating all these hats and things.
Yeah.
And then I went back to my roots of crocheting, and I crocheted my grandbaby a most beautiful sweater and hat and stuff to match and little outfits and stuff. And I was just going to town, with my foot up in the air, because I couldn't,
right,
get on it. I couldn't put any weight on it at all, period.
Right.
So I was like, okay, I got to do something. So that's what I did.
Okay.
I did that.
So all these creative pursuits, I keep referencing the creative pursuits because I think that that's the center ethos of this podcast is about the way that I balance my parenthood with my creative pursuits. So as you know, all the things that I embark on, that I've embarked on, all the way from like high school till now. Right. I've always been in something. I've always created something. I've always been a part of something. And so as I look now as an adult, as a parent, I look back and we talk all the time about what we're doing. And every time you're into something, you're like, whether it be chickens, whether it be masks, even during the course of COVID.
Yeah, during the COVID, I made masks.
She made masks, zipper masks. Like they were beautiful. They were amazing. It was like, oh my gosh. And she was sweet. You were sweet. I'm living that New York life where everything's expensive. You're like, oh yeah, I'm just selling for like $5, $10. I'm like, Ma, what are you doing? Give me like 10 of those. I sold those masks for $30 a piece. And made you a little money in the process.
Yeah, you did.
I'm like, you were giving that hometown discount, which I can appreciate because your heart was in it. You weren't doing it for money.
Right, exactly.
And I get it, but at the same time, you were doing the service. So I wanted to make sure I helped elevate what you were doing. So that was, my way of kind of giving back in a little bit, throughout the rest of everything else in that creative side of things. So there was a moment in your life, just as it was for mine, like, there was a small moment, a small gap of me being like a single parent. And I kind of saw a little bit of just a snapshot of a little bit of the things I had to do by myself and things I had to really kind of navigate to help raise, Gio a little bit from moving into a small studio, that sort of thing, and just kind of growing out of that into now where we live now. Talk to me about your side of that coin as it relates to being a single parent raising us.
Well, being a single parent, period, when I became a mother, I didn't use the excuse that, oh, well, this was a mistake or this was this, and I didn't grow up with the fact that I needed other people to take care of my child because I made that decision on my own to have a child at the age of 19. And so with me, I knew I had to take care of my child. So I went to school at night and I worked during the day. And Granny would help a lot when it came to, you would go with her during the week. I'll pick you up on during the weekend, and that was a great help. But she supported me in that, and she knew how particular I was with my child, my newborn, or my baby, because I wanted to make sure he had the best, and I wanted to make sure that you were taken care of well, so I knew I had to make the money in order to support you. I didn't get on any system or anything like that because the system didn't help me make this baby. Okay, I made this baby on my own, and so I make no excuses for that. If you have to do that, that's on you. But decision making is very powerful, and you have to suffer the consequences, be it good or bad. And so that's what I did. Went to school, worked, and I took care of you. And was it hard? Yeah, it was hard. A little bit, but I made it work. I got married early, at the age of 23, and that didn't work out so well. So I'm back to being a single mother again. And hey, I always thought if I got a slice of bread, I got 2 children now. One child can't get the whole slice of bread. He have to get half now. Because both of them have to eat. So you had to learn how to, make it work and make it last. And so I went to thrift stores and got you guys things. And, and I didn't get no junk. I made sure it had quality to it, I looked at the threads even in the thrift store, because if it was made well, then I would buy it. And so that's what I would do. And that helped stretch. At the end of the school year, I go through you guys' clothes and I see which ones was good enough to take to the flea market and sell them. And then I use that money to put you more on layaway. And when they had layaway. Back in the day, I could put things on layaway. And so I would put your new school clothes on layaway. And then I would get them out, and I did that with the your previous clothes that I probably had gotten because they were so good, I could sell them and people were buying them, even at the yard sale or thrift store, And even as a single mother, I didn't make the excuses, well, I got to work, so I can't do or be in my kids' life in their activities. I was in your all's activities. I may not have been able to go to all of them, but I went to as many as I could. And we did things together. We bowled together, took you to the skating ring and all that. And I had you, to be into all these things so that, you weren't going to be hanging on my skirt tail. Okay?
That's for sure.
Because you boys,
Yeah, no, and I appreciate that. I look now, you're talking about the thrift store stuff. It's funny because I have an episode where I'm talking about my fashion and I actually make mention of you and how we started with the whole thrift thing, but now it's coming back around. That thrift stuff is like premium because it's like one of a kind now.
Absolutely.
You know, where everything else, you know, the fast fashion and everything, you've got all those different elements out there now. But to actually look back at an old piece that's made well, that survived all the way from like the 60s and 70s, that people are wearing now, that's triple the price it was back then.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, you were already ahead of the game. See, you already knew. Absolutely.
That's your
absolutely. Yep. Absolutely. So I know that I've been raised with a very open mind and a very diverse palette as it relates to like people and places and events and just how I navigate through the world. I know it all started from somewhere. So tell me your vantage point as a parent, how you raised us in that way to really kind of open us up to the world.
Well, one is I don't take color as a way of life in the sense of letting you say, oh, well, this one is this way and this person is that way, or this culture is this way or that culture is that way. I just looked at people as people. And so because of that, you know, early on when you were a kid, you know, you came home from school one day and you had this little friend and I was fixing some kind of snack, you know, and he comes home, you come home and you say, Mom, I have my friend with me. And so I was fixing a snack or something. She says, Martha wants some. And I look at little Martha. She was a cute little chubby little girl. and she was Caucasian, you know. And I was like, sure, come on in, baby. And they had their little snack or whatever. And so I knew at that point that, you know, I'm going to have...
I got jungle fever.
I'll have me a few little caramel babies, you know. I don't know, you know. And so I never had a problem with that. I never had a problem with, you know, and then the church that I drug you to.
Not drugged, dragged me to.
Yeah. And it was predominantly white. And you were kind of apprehensive about it. You know, you're like, Mom, why are we coming here? You know, and I was like, well, you know, one of my coworkers attended there and she had invited me to come. So I said, I'm going. You got there and saw half your classmates. And once you did that, and they were all, you know, they were Caucasian. So.
And Christians too.
And Christians, you know, and so we got into that. And then all of a sudden they had this huge youth program at this church.
Yeah. It was amazing.
And he got into this and they would go and end up traveling all over the place with them with something called People Needs the World.
Need the Lord.
Need the Lord. Yeah, Need the Lord.
Yeah.
And so that was that. They were in Christmas programs together. They had a production out of this world for Christmas. And
Yeah. So that definitely
and so
was
to me, color is nothing. You know, one of your friends, when we went to Tennessee one time, asked me, how do you feel about Chuck, you know, dating white women? And I said, I don't have a problem with it. Do you? And so he was like, you know, I don't care about that. And I did say this, and I know it might not be politically correct or whatever. However, I said to him, I said, as long as it's a female, I don't care what color she is,
well,
you know? And so that's basically
I mean, listen, you as a parent, that's the way
you know?
it is and the way it was.
So, I mean, it is, I love you regardless, one way or the other, it doesn't matter. But, you know, you have to treat people. I treat people the way they treat me.
Right.
Be it white, black, green, purple, whatever.
Right.
People are people to me.
Yeah.
And that's the way I raise you guys. You know, people are people.
Yeah. I mean, to speak more into that, I would say that during my dating experiences, I've dated different, you know, there's been black, Latino, whoever, as long as, well, I mean, I went through a phase where, you know, I was a little insecure, where I was like, you know, they got to be hot and beautiful and gorgeous and all that stuff. And I kind of got that for the most part. And I'm happy with those decisions. But at the end of the day, as I've grown up, it came back to that character thing that you taught us. And really like the core of how someone treats me is the thing that allows me to love them, you know, because you can be the most beautiful person in the world, but if you have a bad character and if you don't treat me the way that, you know, my mom treated me or she wished for me to be treated, then that's not what it's going to be. So now here I am, fast forward 2023. You know, I'm married with my beautiful wife, Amanda, that you're actually thick as thieves with as best friends, as you all
That's
both.
my daughter.
I know, and y'all are both Virgos. So y'all get along thick as thieves, like I said. And it's one thing that people marry someone to almost kind of like as a nod to their parents and kind of go, oh, see, you know, because parents want someone to marry who they want. A lot of times in different cultures. Wink,
That's
wink.
right.
So, so for me, it's a bonus for you to love her. You know, I could say, oh, I make the shopping list for what I think you would like for me. But at the end of the day, it came down to she loves him. From your vantage point, how do you see that relationship now, seeing that that's the choice I made for my life at this stage?
Well, one thing...
And forever.
Yeah. One thing you didn't have to worry about is trying to sell me on the fact of her race. You didn't have to sell me on the fact of her race because you knew where I stood with that.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
You know, and so the character is the main key.
Right.
Looks and all that stuff goes out the window as time go by. I don't look like I did 60 years ago, or, you know, I don't look the same. Nobody's going to look the same. So when you choose a mate, you want to, you know, love them for who they are, not for what they have or what they look like in a sense. So, I mean, sometimes, you know, you got to have that little, you got to be attracted some kind of way. I get that. You know, you have to be attracted in some ways. But overall, in the grand scheme of things, you know, your choice, I like your choice. You know, I like your choice. I was sold on her, you know, when I visited and she had the gospel music playing and I was already sold. I'm like, okay, all right now, wait a minute, what's going on? You know, I said, okay, all right, she know the Lord, okay?
Yeah,
all right?
yeah.
And so that in itself, you know, was like, okay. And right away, before you even married, mama this and mama that. And I was like, okay, all right.
Yeah.
She just dug right on in, you know, and as I would, you know, it's just like when I, you know, married my husband. Now, you know, Mom Jessie, my mother-in-law, who's named Jessie, you know, that's, you know, that's what I say, Mama.
Yeah.
You want me to do it? Because now I have a new mother, you know, in marriage. And that's the way I look at it.
Right.
You know, and she would love to come to our house. You know, she loved to come to our house. And I knew what she wanted when she got there. And I treated her with the utmost respect.
Sure.
And I never, and unfortunately, my now husband is my third marriage. I've never met a mother-in-law that I didn't get along with. I mean, you know, I didn't. And but people who have that problem, you know, I don't understand. You know, I can evaluate both sides. Right. Be it the mother-in-law or the daughter. And I view it, when I hear that, I start looking at the character of the daughter. And if I don't know the mother-in-law and I know the character of the daughter, I'm like, okay. Right. You know, it's not always the mother-in-law a lot of times. And I know there's some evil mother-in-laws. There is. Sure. And I met your mother-in-law.
Oh, yes.
I met your mother-in-law. She was a sweet lady. Yeah. She was so down to earth. Yeah, Mama Shelley. When I met her, I felt at home. Right. And it's not too many places. You know, you go somewhere and you go, you know, you feel like you're walking on eggshells and you know, I never felt like that. I just let my hair down.
And we talking about Mississippi, y'all.
Yeah. You know, that was something getting used to, this fact that, you know, your wife was from Mississippi. And I'm like, okay, just be careful. Right. I'm like, just be careful. You know, and so, you know, because I had been to Mississippi myself, and as, you know, it wasn't very pleasant. So That's why I was like a little bit concerned on that level.
Right.
On that level.
But all in all,
other than that,
yeah.
I'm very happy with your choice.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Mommy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, as you know, I just hit the big 5-0, Mommy. And I'm like, I don't know how to feel about it. Because for the longest time, I've always felt that I was younger than I am. Mm-hmm. But when I was younger, I was older than people thought. So, but now at this age, I feel like I've done a lot of things later. And I felt like I've always wanted to be a late bloomer versus a spring chicken. Right? Because I feel like I feel like I want to watch everybody else do it first. So then I can come back behind and make my own way, you know?
And be better at it.
So that's how we do, you know? But anyway, so you are about to hit a milestone in your life as well. So tell me about your journey as where you are and what you're thinking about and what's your recap of sorts as you're about to embark on your next decade.
Wow. A lot of things, some things I would do different and some things I wouldn't change at all. Mm-hmm. You know, having my children, I wouldn't change that at all. Mm-hmm. Loving on my mother, you know, I've always done that. I was her best child, you know.
And I'm yours.
In my mind. And so, you know, I would go, you know, and pick her up and do things with her. And we did things together and I wouldn't change that. Yeah. My now husband that I have, you know, I wouldn't change that. Mm-hmm. He's a good guy. Mm-hmm. And right now it's like hitting 70.
Oh, yes.
It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
You know, because there was a time, I didn't think I would make that. You know, because I had a lot of illnesses and it was scary.
Yeah.
You know, talking about falling and having issues.
Yeah.
You know, I fell playing putt-putt golf, believe it or not.
I know. Mom.
And dislocated my arm. But you know, it was a blessing. And they say, how's it a blessing to break your arm? Well, it was a blessing because I was on a mountain and I got a hole-in-one on the mountain. And it was a downhill mountain. We was headed down. So when I got the hole-in-one, I jumped up. And so when I jumped up, I fell and went sliding like Superman, you know, going down the mountain. And when I went down, this arm hit a brick wall.
Oh, right.
Hit the brick wall, broke this finger and fractured the other two and dislocated this, my elbow, you know, my elbow was up here. But in the interim of all that, you know, and I'm in the ambulance and it was like an audible voice to say, you know, the Lord saying, I broke your arm to save your life. And the reason he did that, because had my arm not been there, my head would have been there. And at the impact of my elbow going up in the middle of my arm, that head trauma would not have been, it would have been detrimental and I wouldn't be here today.
Absolutely.
So I'm thanking God that I'm able to see, if he spare me the next few months, to see my milestone of 70.
Yeah.
You know, that in itself is a blessing.
Absolutely. So just to speak to that, you've always taught us growing up, you always kept us in church.
Yeah.
And you had us believing at an early age. So that really, really, you know, came to light throughout my whole life in various, you know, decisions. Even me moving to New York. I know you've always wanted to protect us and protect me with all of my endeavors because I traveled at an early age, you know?
Right.
So I know that you've always prayed over me throughout the years and really kind of, you know, shielded me with that love from our belief in God. And that's always been a center focal point for me even. I know there, you know, some of your belief has wavered a little bit from time to time as it relates to like, Mom, man, just moved to New York and man, it's tight. It's tight. And you were like, baby, come on home.
Yeah.
Come on home and get that government job, you know.
Yeah,
get some of that security.
Get that government job.
Or I had a relationship that, you know, the other person didn't believe in me.
Yeah.
To where I needed to have the money. I needed to have all these different things. And they just weren't the right people, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the idea was the security is what you always kind of wanted to fight for because you knew how it was growing up as a single mother. So me growing up and being at this time in my life, there's been a lot of moments where I can thank God, albeit not from a fall or anything like that.
Right.
But it's some of those moments that there was a hedge of protection over my life that I felt was from you and, you know, family members and stuff, just to kind of see my journey in a very bright and fruitful way. So I appreciate that. And at this milestone, you know, at this moment in my life, I can look back on all those memories and lessons that you taught me, you know, that we can now sit and share right here. Right. Yeah.
I can say also that I can admire the fact that you went after what you wanted to go after, even though it didn't seem lucrative at the time, you know, and you told me, Mom, I'm never going to work anywhere that I don't enjoy, where I don't enjoy working. And I said, you know, that's when I said, well, you know, you got to be able to support yourself and you got to be able to have that insurance, you know, you got to, you know, but success and all that is not always in money. You know, success is not always in money. It's in how you live your life and if you achieve the things you wanted to achieve in life, then that is successful. So that's the way I looked at it. And you never called and asked me for anything. I can count on one hand and take away maybe 3 fingers and how many times you ever call home and ask me for anything. Right. So that in itself made me know that, you know, you were supporting yourself and you were being resourceful and that type of thing. So, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Mommy. I appreciate you. Beautiful.
Yeah.
So, Ma, I just want to thank you so much for this being in my world from my living room, hence the title of the podcast. This is a dream. This is like my dream interview. If I could have one interview in life, is to be able to do something like this in my creative life and be able to share that and kind of somewhat share the stage with my mom. Like not many people can say they've done this or do this. And I'm just like, wow, this just happened. Oh my gosh. So I want to thank you so much for the platform that you didn't know you gave me with all this creative stuff, you know, to be able to speak to this. And we didn't even touch on the singing part, which is, y'all don't know. You got to dig through YouTube to find some of those moments. But I'm telling you, this lady, with all of my singing endeavors and me doing commercials and doing jingles and all that sort of stuff, it all derived from her. But it goes even deeper than that. So you got to share a little bit about that part of our world.
I've been singing. I sang from elementary school through high school. I was in all the talent shows. And the last talent show I was in high school, one of the members of the Commodores was there. And they wanted me and this other young lady to go on the road with them.
I remember this. I forgot all of, oh man.
And I told, I was like, when they call the house, I said, my mom is not going to allow me to do this, because I'm still in high school and that was not going to happen. And so I did, I had to renege on that one. And, but I also sung it.
Lionel Richie could have been my dad. Oh. No,
I wouldn't go that far.
No, I love me some Lionel Richie. That's why you were playing a lot of it in our childhood.
But
that's amazing.
So that was, that was a highlight, that just the mere fact that they wanted me,
That's
little old
amazing.
nothing me, and then singing in the choir at church.
Yeah.
You know, I always sang in all the choirs at church, and that, you know, I just love singing. And my dad sang, my mom sang.
Yeah.
You know, my dad sang. Oh my gosh, talking about Nat King Cole. Didn't have nothing on my dad.
Wow.
You know, and so everybody would love to hear my dad sing. And so that's basically, I mean, I came into this world singing.
Yeah.
You know, my mom would tell you, my sisters would tell, you know, I would hum the tune, sort of like Gio.
Yeah.
I had the melody down pat. I may not have been able to speak the words, but I had the melody down pat. I would hum the melody of a song at a baby's age, you know. And so they, you know, they knew that. And here you are singing and doing the very thing that I love doing myself. I don't do that now. But nevertheless, you know, it's only required for me to make a joyful noise. So now I make joyful noises now.
Right. Well, I mean, listen, it's every time something happens for me, I always enjoy sharing those moments, because there was a moment in my life where I had the narrative that because I came along at such an early age, that I was the reason that you didn't pursue your singing career.
No.
And I had that on my heart, my mind, everything, till I was about 26. And I believe the realization hit me when I was on the road at All American Singers.
Yeah.
We had a conversation, I believe it was in Michigan. And I talked to you on the phone and you were like, oh no, it's because Granny didn't let me go. I was like, oh my gosh. You don't have no idea how much of a weight that was, because for me,
that was way
I wanted to sing and live out this dream that I didn't think you were able to fulfill. So each singing endeavor had that whole, I'm doing it for my mom, you know, just like the athletes nowadays, you know, when they make a touchdown, you know, their parents and like they thank their moms and they want to do so much for their moms, because you were the ones, you know, the ones who really raised us to the place we are now.
Right.
So anything we have as it relates to any level of success or an achievement, we harken back to those moments that you provided for us, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, I kind of held that, but now here I am as a dad, you know, and I have Gio, and he's just like what you just described as it relates to hearing a melody once, and he can kind of just do it right away.
Right.
Little boy genius that one is. But, you know, to be able to pass that down and to hear the family lineage, to come down, you know, all these generations, and for me now to, you know, pass that on, you know, and not even like actively or intentionally. Some of the stuff is just, you know, if I'm doing a session, Gio hears me.
Yeah.
So he kind of hears and hums. And in between takes, I'll hear him in his room doing the exact same thing that I just got finished recording. And I'm just like, he's got it. He's got the thing. and so, you know, I look back, and as parents, we always want to make sure we do the best for our kids. But I think it's the things that we don't physically do, but kind of the things that we subconsciously do for them and with them that really kind of helps pass that torch. Because you can say, oh, I sang, so thus you should sing.
Right, no.
But it's not working that way. So the way that it's happening so organically kind of gives me hope. Whether he pursues it or not, it's good to know in my spirit and in my ear that it's been passed on from you. So as one creative parent to another that you've, you know, created me to be, I just want to thank you once again so much for everything that you are to me, that you have been for me, that you continue to be for me. I love you. I love you. I'm so glad that I have come to a place where I can invite you into my home, and you have a place to stay that's your own. And you've helped fortify my dreams. You helped fortify me as a man to come to this place, making a decision I have with my wife, you know, me being a great dad to my son. So I just want to acknowledge you and give you your flowers right now.
Oh, I appreciate that.
And yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
So
no, but you never, ever have to think that you were, you hindered me from pursuing my singing career.
Yeah.
I didn't pursue no singing career. I just loved to sing.
Yeah.
And when I had you, I wanted to have you.
Yeah.
And so it had nothing to do with it at all.
Yeah.
So I'm proud of who you are and what you have become, and the father you have become, and the husband.
Thank you.
So I appreciate you. Love you.
Love you. Well, there it is. This is not going to happen again. I'm going to keep this as is. This is one take that I will gladly take with me the rest of my life. If you have parents that you have, relationships with, good, bad, or indifferent, give them their flowers. Let's talk about our relationships. Let's bridge the generations. Let's thank the people who brought us into this world, regardless of the relationship, and just let them know that they're loved and they're appreciated. So until the next time, have a wonderful day.